So we're going to drill down on all of this, but we're going to begin with somebody who knows, I think you will agree, a thing or two about running for president and is a true believer in the credo that we need to get better as a nation at minding our own damn business. Joining us is the Dr. Ron Paul. Peace and Prosperity Institute is what he calls not only his namesake organization, but also what he stands for. So he's the perfect guest to talk to on this day because, my God, if you think about what's going on right now, not just Iran, we've gone through Venezuela, breaking nuke deals with Russia, in an economic war with China, and now I guess threatening to do battle with Iran. Pick a topic, Doctor. I don't know where to go with this, but it's got to be frustrating for you.
Well, it is a bit frustrating, but I don't think we have to go too far to understand the whole picture, because we in our institute narrow it down to intervention versus non-intervention, believing that if we minded our own business, we'd all be a lot better off and we wouldn't be the policemen of the world. But once you get involved intervening to promote American greatness and be the policemen of the world, like most of our presidential candidates in the past, like Bush had a very decent foreign policy. He didn't want to be the policeman of the world, no nation building, that sort of thing. So I think the people want that, but we don't have that. We have people that are controlled, once again, by the special interests. And we did a program today about how the lobbyists and the money and the military-industrial complex are so involved in promoting all this. And in a way, our president is involved in that too, because he says selling those weapons is good for business. And yet I don't think he's the most aggressive in the administration. I think it's Bolton on Pompeo that he's trying to rein in. So it's for me a philosophy. We'd stay out of it, and we would cause a lot less trouble by us refusing to get involved in these squabbles over the different boundaries. I don't think we do much good for ourselves or for them.
Does it not seem to you, though, because it does to me, that it's so easy and politically expedient domestically to go out there if you're a politician and say, I'm going to be tough. If you're a mayor, I'm going to be tough on crime. I'm closing the parks, but I'm going to hire more cops. If you're going to be a senator or a president, for example, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to be tough on Iran and tough on Venezuela and tough on all those guys. And there seems to be a cachet to that, especially when the media, instead of questioning you or even criticizing you, backs you up and exalts you for being Mr. Tough Guy. However, the unintended consequences of that is the rest of the world is looking at us and saying, who the hell do they think they are, right?
Yeah, and I think the American people basically aren't begging for war. Certainly the people who fight and die there don't make the policies. Somebody else does it. So people would just assume that we stay out of those conflicts, and it's a real job. This idea of weakness, people like strength. They like our military, and they don't want to be pushed around. We want to be proud people. But I find that you can have a different definition of strength rather than being aggressive and wanting to bomb people and telling people what to do. I claim that you have to have some strength and determination and confidence in your beliefs to take a position that is in conflict with everybody else, whether it's the Congress or the media or anybody else. People think, oh, he's just a wimp. He won't vote to send the troops over there. But no, I think if you want non-intervention, you need people with courage and conviction and can defend themselves philosophically.
What you're saying is strong. It's courageous to be able to say we need to mind our own business and get involved when we need to. But how many of those Democratic presidential hopefuls who will be debating tonight in Miami are going to say and stand for the things that Ron Paul is saying?
Well, unfortunately, I only know of one, and that's Tulsi Gabbard. She'll speak this same language, but they're not going to pay any attention to her. And if she did get popular, they're not going to give her the coverage. So, yes, it's rare, but she is one. But the rest are all warmongers. But yeah, I think even when you come up with our candidates, like when George W. Bush was running, his foreign policy was sounding this way because he knew a lot of people would rally around it. But the problem is they don't really believe it. They go in, they're influenced by the military-industrial complex and all the lobbying going on, and money talks, unfortunately, in Washington, and there's a lot of jobs involved. One thing that I'm amazed at, Rick, on this, what's going on right now, is our administration and the chief officer of our administration is not hiding from the fact that, well, we want to sell these weapons. This is good for business. It's good for jobs. And he says it, said it a couple of times. Most of the time, they just lie about, oh, no. Of course, we've had a term for that is military Keynesianism. The left always wants, well, we have to produce jobs. Well, the conservatives want to produce jobs. We'll build more weapons. But that's one reason why when they build these weapons, and even single weapons sometimes involves activities and manufacturing in all the states, and that puts pressure on all the congressmen. They might not even agree. But, I have a plant there. I have 5,000 people working there. I can't vote against this. So they don't stand up against it.
Yeah, it's expediency, and unfortunately, it's not expediency that's generally good for the country or the future or our children. But yet, you're right. And just to, I think, piggyback on what you just said, isn't it interesting that we have this wonderful relationship, for the most part, with Pakistan? Pakistan's allowed to have nukes. Pakistan, we know, harbored Osama bin Laden. We have a great relationship with Saudi Arabia. We know Saudi Arabia just murdered, chopped up a guy who worked for the Washington Post. Saudi Arabia has been responsible for 50,000 children dying in Yemen. So we have these two countries that I just named you, which you could argue are as bad as Iran, and yet we don't make that argument against them, but we do against Iran.
Well, I'd modify that a little bit, because if you really look at the details of civil liberties, I think it's a hard thing to say that Iran is a lot worse than Saudi Arabia and less aggressive. But that is the problem that we have, is identifying, because and sometimes I have strong opinions. These are the bad guys and these are the good guys. But I still, as a representative in Congress, I didn't take the position that I'm going to send money to one group versus the other, because I think you can't pick. What about when there's a civil war going on? And we do it all the time. What about in Syria? It was an example of us helping sometimes Al-Qaeda. Oh, well, we have to be pragmatic, and send money to this group and that group. No, I think the only practical thing to do, and the only moral thing that we can do, and the only thing that we can do that would follow the Constitution, is do not volunteer and get involved in all these skirmishes, whether they're border disputes or whether they're civil wars. That doesn't mean you don't have a position, an opinion. It's just that if you study it, you'll realize that our involvement in giving money to one group versus another makes things worse.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Ron Paul, as usual, thank you, sir, for taking time to join us this evening.
Nice to be with you.
So you haven't heard that we're the ones covering the stories that you won't see covered anywhere else? In Venezuela, Kazakhstan, let's go to Hong Kong. And the media reaction to that has been crickets. How about the way we cover those stories? What the hell does that mean? Wowee. That's the key word in this case, uprising. Keep? Can you believe that? Watching. This is the right thing for members of the media to do, to actually pick sides. Look, if you like what you see, subscribe.